It's 2 in the morning and you can't sleep. Again, you're sitting at the kitchen table in the dark. Phone screen casting blue shadows across your face. Scrolling through nothing because doing something feels better than lying there. With the weight of unanswered questions pressing on your chest. You whispered it again tonight before you gave up on rest. That prayer, the one you've prayed so many times the words have worn smooth like river stones. And you're starting to wonder if anyone's listening. Maybe you're just talking to the ceiling. If faith is just a prettier word for hoping into the void. Then your phone buzzes. A text from someone you haven't heard from in months. And the first line stops your breath because it's the exact phrase you prayed 30 minutes ago. Verbatim, like they reached into your mind and pulled out the syllables. Coincidence, you think? But your hands are shaking. Because what if it's not? What if this flicker in the dark is proof that someone heard you? Welcome to Holy Spark Soul. If you're here, you've been praying prayers that feel like they're dissolving into silence. You've been asking, seeking, knocking on doors that won't budge. And you're exhausted from the wait, from the wondering. From the cognitive dissonance of believing in a God who hears while living in circumstances that scream he doesn't. Today, we're not giving you platitudes. We're not handing you cliches about patience and timing. Today, we're diving into proof. Real, tangible, trace it with your finger evidence that your prayers aren't evaporating. They're working. They're moving. They're being answered in ways you haven't learned to recognize yet. If you're new here, subscribe and turn on notifications. Because this channel exists to dig beneath the surface of faith and find the raw, unvarnished truth pulsing underneath. Let's start with how answered prayers actually work. You think they're supposed to arrive like packages on your doorstep? Wrapped with a bow, exactly what you ordered, precisely when you expected it. But that's not how the divine operates. Answered prayers come like echoes. You shout into a canyon and nothing happens. You turn to leave, convinced the canyon is empty. And then, hours later, miles down the trail, a sound reaches you. Faint, familiar, your own voice bouncing back in frequencies you didn't recognize at first. That's what's happening right now. You prayed something weeks ago, months ago, maybe years ago, and the answer is circling back in forms you didn't anticipate, through people you didn't expect. In timing that makes no logical sense until you step back and see the whole constellation of coincidences, arranging themselves into a message. And here's another ripple. Consider Hannah. She's barren in a culture where that's the worst kind of curse, where her worth is measured by the children she can't produce. Her husband's other wife mocks her. Every year they go to the temple, and every year Hannah weeps, unable to eat, unable to pretend she's fine. She prays in the temple with such intensity that Eli the priest thinks she's drunk. Her lips move, but no sound comes out because the prayer is too deep, too desperate for audible words. And Eli, not understanding, tells her to go in peace, that the God of Israel will grant her petition. He doesn't know what she asked for. He's guessing. But watch what happens. Hannah conceives. She bears Samuel. And Samuel becomes the prophet who anoints kings, who changes the trajectory of a nation. Her prayer didn't just get answered. It got answered in ways that rippled through generations. The proof wasn't immediate. It took time. It took trust. But it came. Now watch how this echo unfolds in your own life. You prayed for provision 3 months ago when the bank account was bleeding red. Nothing dramatic happened. No check in the mail. No lottery win. But then a friend mentioned a side gig. You almost said no because you were tired, because it seemed small. You said yes anyway. That gig introduced you to someone who needed exactly your skill set for a contract that tripled your income. Was that coincidence? Or was that the echo of your provision prayer bouncing back through a chain of seemingly random connections that weren't random at all? Picture this. Daniel in a lion's den. He prayed 3 times a day, facing Jerusalem even when it became illegal. Even when he knew the consequence was being thrown to predators designed to tear flesh from bone. He's lowered into the pit. The stone seals the opening, and he's alone with hungry lions in the dark. The prayer he prayed earlier that day, did it feel answered in that moment? Did it feel like God was listening when fangs glinted in shadow and claws scraped stone? But dawn comes. King Darius rushes to the den and calls out, half expecting silence. And Daniel's voice rises from the pit. My God sent his angel and shut the lions' mouths. The proof wasn't in the prevention. It was in the protection. God didn't stop Daniel from entering the den. He stood with him inside it, and here's your ripple. You prayed for healing, and the diagnosis came anyway. You prayed for the relationship to survive, and it ended. You prayed for the job and got the rejection email. And you're thinking, see? Unanswered. But 3 months later, you're grateful the diagnosis came when it did, because catching it early saved your life. 6 months later, you meet someone who actually sees you. And you realize the relationship that ended was slowly suffocating you. A year later, the rejection led you to a path you'd never have chosen, but that's exactly where you were meant to be. The proof isn't always in getting what you asked for. It's in discovering that what you needed was different. And someone who loved you knew it before you did. Watch this echo unfold through the persistent widow in Luke 18. There's a judge who doesn't fear God and doesn't respect people. A widow keeps coming to him demanding justice against her adversary. She has no power, no leverage, no reason to expect he'll listen. But she keeps knocking, keeps asking, keeps showing up. And finally, the judge says, because this widow keeps bothering me, I will give her justice, so that she will not beat me down by her continual coming. Jesus tells this parable and then asks, will not God give justice to his elect who cry to him day and night? Will he delay long over them? I tell you, he will give justice to them speedily. Speedily? Not immediately. Speedily in divine timing, which operates on frequencies we don't always perceive. Now trace this in your own story. You've been praying for justice in a situation that feels impossible. Someone wronged you and got away with it. You've asked for vindication, for truth to surface, for wrongs to be made right. And nothing seems to be happening. But watch closer. Little shifts. The person who lied is starting to contradict themselves. The evidence you needed shows up in an unexpected conversation. Doors that were closed are creaking open. The proof isn't a courtroom verdict yet. It's the subtle unraveling of lies. The quiet gathering of truth like stones in your pocket, one by one, until you have enough weight to tip the scales. 1 John 5:14-15 says, this is the confidence that we have toward him, that if we ask anything according to his will, he hears us. And if we know that he hears us in whatever we ask, we know that we have the requests that we have asked of him. The proof starts with hearing, not with having. If he hears, the answer is already in motion. You just can't see the machinery yet. You can't see the gears turning behind the curtain, but they're turning. And every prayer aligned with his will has already been answered in the spiritual realm. It's just working its way into the material one. James 5:16 tells us, the prayer of a righteous person has great power as it is working. Present tense, active voice. Your prayer isn't sitting in a cosmic inbox waiting for God to get around to it. It's working right now. Like yeast in dough, invisible but transforming everything it touches. Like a seed under soil, unseen but sending roots down and shoots up. The proof is that you can't see it yet. Because if you could, faith wouldn't be required. And here's another ripple, a modern parable woven from real threads. There's a woman who prayed for years for her prodigal son to come home. He was deep in addiction, out of contact, living a life that was killing him slowly. She prayed every morning, every night, sometimes every hour. And every day he was still gone felt like proof that God wasn't listening. Until one Tuesday when her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. It was a hospital. Her son had overdosed. But he survived. And in that ICU room, with tubes and monitors singing their mechanical songs, he looked at her and said, "I want to come home." The overdose wasn't the answer she prayed for, but the survival was. The desire to change was. The door that opened in his heart was. The proof came wrapped in near tragedy, because sometimes that's the only wrapping paper that can get through our defenses. Luke 11:9-10. Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and it will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives, and the one who seeks finds, and to the one who knocks it will be opened. Everyone, not some, not the particularly holy or especially deserving. Everyone, the proof is in the promise. If you're asking, you will receive. If you're seeking, you will find. If you're knocking, doors will open, not might. Will, the timing is what's in question, not the certainty. Picture another vignette, intimate and small. A man loses his job. He's been praying for stability, for provision, for clarity on what's next. He sends out resumes into the void. Nothing. Weeks turn to months. His savings dwindle. He's starting to panic. Then his sister calls. She knows someone who knows someone. Would he be willing to take a coffee meeting? No promises, just coffee. He goes because what else is he going to do? The coffee meeting leads to a conversation about a startup that needs exactly his expertise. The startup can't pay much at first, but offers equity. He takes it because he needs something. 3 years later, the startup gets acquired. The equity turns into more money than he'd have made in a decade at his old job. Was that answered prayer? Or did the universe just happen to align? He knows. He knows because he remembers the prayer. He remembers the months of silence. He remembers the coffee he almost didn't show up for. That's proof. Watch how breadcrumbs work. You pray for direction. You don't get a burning bush or an audible voice. What you get is a book recommendation from a stranger. You read it. It mentions a concept that intrigues you. You Google it. That leads to a website. The website mentions an organization. You reach out. They respond. They invite you to an event. At the event, you meet someone who becomes a mentor. The mentor introduces you to an opportunity. The opportunity becomes your calling. None of those steps felt like answered prayer in the moment. Each one felt random, disconnected. But when you trace the breadcrumbs backward, you see the trail. You see the invisible hand arranging the pieces. Here's a ripple that might be happening right now. You prayed for a sign. Something clear, something unmistakable. And you're watching this video. Did you click it on purpose, or did the algorithm serve it up? Did a friend send it, or did it just appear in your feed? And now these words, these specific combinations of syllables, are they landing in the cracks of your doubt like water finding its way into stone? Is this the sign? Not because this video is magical, but because God uses whatever channels are open. He speaks through burning bushes and donkeys and dreams and strangers and yes, even through YouTube videos that find you at 2 in the morning when you can't sleep. Reflecting on passages like this through a psychological lens can illuminate how ancient expressions of persistence and provision mirror our own inner dialogues, fostering resilience through honest expression. Yet if these themes stir deeper unrest, a conversation with a wise counselor might offer tailored clarity. But here's what I need you to do. Start keeping a proof journal. Not a gratitude journal, a proof journal. When something happens that feels like an echo of a prayer you prayed, write it down. Date it. Describe it. Connect the dots. You'll start seeing patterns you missed before. You'll start recognizing God's handwriting in the margins of your life. That coincidence wasn't coincidence. That lucky break wasn't luck. That random conversation wasn't random. They're all proofs. They're all breadcrumbs. They're all echoes of prayers bouncing back. And here's the final ripple, the one that brings us full circle. Remember that text at 2 in the morning? The one with your prayer's exact words. You replied. The conversation that followed revealed that they'd been thinking about you, feeling prompted to reach out, not knowing why. They shared something that shifted your perspective on the very issue you were praying about. That's not coincidence. That's orchestration. That's the proof you were asking for, delivered through a channel you weren't watching, at a time you weren't expecting, in a form you almost dismissed. The bulb you forgot you planted is blooming through the concrete. You can see it now, the crack widening, the green pushing through. The proof that something buried is alive and growing and about to break into light. Your prayers are being answered. Not all of them in the ways you scripted. Not all of them on your timeline. But they're working. They're echoing. They're rippling out in ways you can't track yet. And the proof is everywhere if you learn to see with new eyes. If you start connecting the dots. If you stop demanding fireworks and start noticing the quiet coincidences stacking into certainty. If this message landed in your spirit like a stone dropped in still water, sending ripples you can feel, I want you to do something. Comment below with your own proof story. Share one ripple, one echo, one time a prayer came back in a form you didn't expect. Tie it to your favorite scripture about answered prayer. Let this community witness the ways God is moving in real time, through real lives, in real and undeniable ways. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Holy Spark Soul and turn on those notifications. We're here every week, tracing the fingerprints of the divine in the ordinary. I'd also encourage you to check out our deep dive into Psalm 109 next, where we explore how even the hardest prayers become pathways to deeper encounters. This message is proof. The fact that you're hearing it, that these words found you, that something in you responded, that's proof too. Your prayers aren't dissolving into silence. They're working. They're echoing. They're about to come back in forms that will take your breath away. Watch for them. Write them down. Share them. Because the proof isn't just for you. It's for everyone who's waiting in the dark, wondering if anyone's listening. You're the proof they need. Your story is the ripple that becomes their wave. I'll see you in the next one.